This podcast is part of the Zeo to Hero Podcast Network. Hello, all my beautiful people. It's time for another fun episode of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. And I just want to say welcome to everyone who is listening right now. Thank you for being here, whether this is the first time you've listened or if you've been listening for a long time. I appreciate each and every one of you. So this week's episode is going to be really cool. This is an independent comic, and it's the two writers from that I have on the show today. I found them, or more, they found me, actually, through some other people, and I am really glad that we were able to connect and get them on the show. I've actually got to read the first comic for First Place Losers, and we're going to talk about that today, but I have on the co-writers for this, Flobo Boyce and Andrew Maxwell. We had a great conversation and a great time talking, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode and what we have to say. I get to learn more about them, and we get to learn more about the comic and the world that they've created with this. And for those of you who are here just to listen to the First Place Losers episode, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you hear, and I hope that you stick around and listen to some of the other great episodes I have here as well. So, if you guys are as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast.
You're bloody welcome!
You know.
Hey, Dad.
If I get my hand stuck in a pickle jar, I'm straight up bull in a china shop, just swinging around.
Started writing songs when I was about 12 or so.
Seriously?
They're retrofitting me now, and
I'm like, yes, finally.
I've also had the opportunity to go train with Boyce Gracie and Dan Severin.
Wow.
I like that. That's different. It stands out.
That day I took my very first bump and it was fun.
There's only one section to go to first.
Yeah.
Toys.
Bro.
I was like, no, man, surely this guy's not worked out that long.
I haven't laughed that hard since I was a little girl.
What?
Man, this guy won't shut up.
And just a reminder before we get started here, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to iGadap wherever it is you're listening. Hit that notification bell so you are notified when a new episode drops. Also, make sure that you go out there and rate and review this episode. Tell me what you think of it. And the more people that do that, the more likely I am to be recommended to somebody else. Now, on to the show. All right, everybody. So this one is going to be pretty cool, I think. I am really enjoying the conversation that I've already had with my two guests that I have on today. And they are both writers for a new comic called First Place Losers. It's a sci-fi comic. The story follows a disgraced pilot, an ex-con who attempts to redeem himself through the world of mech racing. And I am talking to Andrew Maxwell and Flobo Boyce. Guys, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks so much for having us.
Did I say the names right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's pronounced Andrew. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Man, I'm excited to do this one. I've been looking forward to this. I know we've had to reschedule a few times due to, life happens. So, yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Excited to be here.
Yeah.
So I did want to tell you, actually, Andrew, one of your other friends actually messaged me not too long ago, and I've set up another interview with him to do the My Neighbor Necromancer.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, he said that you had told him about me. So I'm pretty excited to have him on here soon too.
It's a great comic book. Did he send you issue 1?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did send me that. So
fantastic.
I'm definitely excited for that. But we're here today to talk about First Place Losers, and I have read through it a couple times now. You guys were able to get me a copy so I could read that. And this is such a great story. I really enjoy it. I like the flow of the story. It gives you your background on everything that's going on. So I guess I just want to ask, what is the inspiration behind this book?
So couple things. So Flobo, feel free to jump in anytime, but we met back in 2016 at WonderCon in California.
Okay.
And kind of, if you're familiar with that one, but it's a fun show. So it's my first comic convention. Met Flobo. We kind of stayed in contact over the last couple of years, and then over the pandemic, really bonded over Formula One racing.
Okay.
Do you watch Formula One at all, or a racing fan at all?
I really don't watch too much of that now.
Wait, I was in the same boat, and then Drive to Survive, the Netflix show, totally pulled us in.
Okay.
But just obviously the racing, really high intensity racing,
Right.
a lot of rivalries and histories between the drivers.
Yeah.
Wealthy globetrotting all over the world. We're like, let's put that same setup in a sci-fi.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's throw some mechs in there. Right. And it kind of took off from there.
Yeah, I remember that conversation being like, "Oh man, do you love Drive to Survive?" I do too, because with motorsport, that show is very much a double-edged sword, right? It did bring so many new fans and really let people understand why drivers, why the techs, why the principals work as hard as they do for something they love. But it's a Netflix reality show, so things are kind of dramatized, and so it's kind of this polarizing thing. But I think we kind of connect on the fact that, hey, look, we never really thought about the relationship between so many people that work with this machine for this common goal of like making a car go faster or winning races. And at first first couple of drafts, we're like, let's make a F1 comic. Yeah. And they're like, no, this is not what we want to do at all. Like, forget the actual, we want the things underneath that. It kind of evolved from there.
Right. So, and the one thing I noticed, and I love this, there's so much backstory behind it already. You have, even in the front, you have the explanation of what's going on. It shows the track even that they're going to be racing on and all these different things. And, he has an actual dark past, in the story. So coming up with all of this, was that, where are you drawing inspiration on the actual story for the characters? And you've created a whole universe for this story.
Yeah, it was, Flobo's a big sports guy. I'm about as stereotypical nerd as you get. So like,
no.
so for me to dive into a sports, and that the funny thing is I love sports movies and I love sports documentaries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like sports, I got a 3-year-old, so we already signed him up for T-ball.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be a sports dad. I'm just going to become that.
Yeah.
So I needed a way in, for a sports comic, right? So if you're hearing this, you're like, I don't want to read sports comic, and it's in manga, it's very popular, right? There's a lot of, and there's some great sports comics, but I needed a way in, right? And I can't, my way in is let's throw all this crazy stuff into the blender, and it's it's not going to be a regular race comic. So there's definitely racing, high octane racing in it, but yeah, we're in an intergalactic prison. Somebody's been murdered. There's some revenge stuff going on. I mean, there's a lot going on besides racing, but we also, realized just having a list of rules for you to read before going into the comic would not be exciting either. So it was kind of a balance of how much do we give you for this to be exciting and make sense, but also, not just hold your hand through the whole thing.
Right. I get that. And I mean, that's a lot of times I think that when it comes to news stories and stuff like that, people, they don't get enough of the information up front, and so they get a little confused on some of that. But I do like that, how you're able to give them some to at least get them to being like, okay, so this is what's going to happen. You know what to expect going into it from the beginning.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much intentional. And I got to give all the credit in the world to, I guess, do I say 10-year-old movie franchise now? John Wick, where there is an on-ramp for understanding action. It's a very simple story at the core. But the fun thing for me, because we'll get into like division of labor a little bit later, is like, how do I put the seeds that make sense later on? How do I put the bigger world things that we're going to get back to in a way where it doesn't seem forced or a big exposition dump, and also support the story that we want to sell in a way that doesn't make you go, hold on, I need the companion guide to know what this means. This is too much work, Yeah.
I've actually had a few shows where everybody's like, oh my God, this is so good, you're going to enjoy it. And I felt so lost when I started that I just, it didn't grab me right away. And, I feel like you've got to find a way to hook them in right at the beginning, So I really do feel that way with this comic.
Awesome. hearing that.
There was something funny at the end that I wanted to ask you guys about. There's an ad for a beverage. Whose idea was it to put that in there?
I'm just like I love the world building stuff and just like the fun little details.
Yeah.
So we wanted to, I mean, even normally a lot of times when you get to the end of the issue, you get like back matter where it's like, oh, this is the sketches of the characters. And
right.
When I was first starting to make comics, I did that, and I have nothing against the comics that do that, but
right.
it kind of takes you out of the world because it kind of brings you back to reality and go, oh, this is what the team made to make the book. Yeah. So we definitely have a making of featurette, but it's separate. So we just wanted to keep you in the world the entire time through the book. So like that back is like, you're looking at a brochure of the race. You're at the race that weekend, and then you got the intergalactic, space liquor.
Yeah, leave it to us to sell lots of fake companies. Ooh, what are we doing? We didn't even get paid.
But I love that kind of stuff. When I'm looking through things, I'm like, oh, I love this world. I feel like I'm in the world,
I actually have some buddies. They run a podcast called the Zeo the Hero podcast, and they have given me all of these different commercials for their show. But also they've included things. They're a lot of their stuff is inspired by Power Rangers. So they have like a helmet waxing company, that they're advertising in one of them, or a key restoration, or a way to clean your Zords, or I think there was one for dry cleaning because you get goo from the monsters on your suit and things like that. So I love that when people, they think outside the box and they come up with these things that would be, they could be possibly useful in that world. Like you said, it's keeping you in that universe. And I remember them doing that a lot in some of the 90s sci-fi movies and stuff like that. They would, have little commercials that you'd see like Pepsi or something in there, but it was futuristic. And that's something that's always kind of grabbed my attention.
Yeah, no, I always love that kind of stuff too, because you can get little jokes in there,
right?
And just lots of little fun character stuff maybe that you didn't have room for.
Yeah.
So I just it's a fun little thing to do without it feeling like you're just giving a page of full text. Right? It's a little bit of added layer to it.
Definitely. So we're going to kind of switch this around a little bit. I want to talk about a little bit more in depth when it comes to the creation side of this and you guys' process. What does that look like whenever you were coming up with the script for this, when you were passing it along to the artists and stuff? What did that look like? What is your process?
A lot of arguments. We totally just no, it's definitely interesting because it's the first time that Andrew and I collaborated, and so it's like different kinds of process. I write things a little bit differently than Andrew, and so a lot of times it was like, oh, I'm fine with it, and Andrew's like, no, really, are you? Like, are you being passive aggressive, or there's some things something that seem very, very minor, and I'll go, no, we got to go back and get this done. So It was kind of fun. But I would say when it comes to the writing side, we talk about the art a little bit later. The script and story was essentially Andrew's. Like that is definitely Bear's journey. People choose the bear is definitely his, and it was really my expertise as far as like with support, understanding world and character beats, making sure things are consistent from page to page, some of the background stuff, the terminology for things, because we want to be able to grow this out a little later.
Okay. Okay. That I like that. That's you kind of split and conquered, and that's a good way to go about it.
And and like the initial, he's selling himself short a little bit because a lot of it, like the actual story breaking, we did a lot of like, these are the things we want in it.
Right.
These are the characters that could possibly be in it. How do we want to weave all that together? So once we had a basic loose story frame, then I took a crack at the script, but then we go back and forth on that, and and then breaking the entire story. That's something that'll be all done together. But yeah, it's kind of, this is my second book co-writing with somebody, so it's that process can be very different. My other collaborator, it was a very different process, but I think it's very much just like a person to person, relationship to relationship kind of deal.
Yeah. And when it comes to the art side of it, when handing it off to them, I know when I was talking the other day to another comic book artist. He was saying how he would actually put little thumbnails on there to kind of give a representation of what he was wanting, like that particular window to look like, and different things like that. When it came to that, did you have a certain way that you were trying to convey to them what you were wanting on, each panel?
For that, I do full script. I don't do like Marvel style. So like,
yeah,
once I'd pitch a version of the script to Flobo, and then Flobo would take his crack at it and polish things up or add things or take things away or whatever. Once we had something that we both liked, we sent that to Max, and then Max, which usually an artist may thumbnail a page or two, Max thumbnailed out the entire issue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at one time. So then we went through and, tweak this. Can we have a slightly different angle here? But, like that kind of thing. And that's how the book came. But we only had one panel and where we had to, because, the thumbnails are drawn very, quickly and sketch like.
Right.
Once we saw the final, version, we slightly tweaked.
Yeah.
We did a little redraw. But other than that, the whole thing was exactly as Max pitched it. So, a lot of work up front, but I think saved on the end.
Yeah. Yeah. When it comes to the artist, how did you find the artist that you're using?
I had a buddy that did a short with him that was a robot themed short.
Okay.
Right as Flobo and I were coming up with this. And I was like, Flobo, I got this guy in my head. Let me pitch him to you.
Yeah.
Pitched him to Flobo. We're like, let's reach out to him. And luckily, the stars aligned that his schedule was open, and it just really worked out. But it was not a thing that I was a little nervous because I didn't know Max, and I was like, hey, are you ready to draw 20 different robots?
Yeah.
But it worked out.
I was nervous for a whole different reason. The reason why we collaborate on this one is that I had tried and failed with an artist before. You do the whole work and the art really wasn't up to snuff, but I didn't really know any better. And it was only when I got rejected from like every outlet ever. And the reason being the art. And I was like, okay, well, I only get what I can afford. Right. Yeah. So when Andrew was like, I'm thinking about using this artist, I'm like, it's in your hands, man, because I struck out twice. do good, please, Andrew, please. But Max, it was just fantastic because it was easy to work with, worked super quick, depending once you take the consideration, the kind of art we needed. This wasn't like a two friends on a couch book. I mean, this is something with scale. Has been nothing but a blessing,
Yeah.
Hello everybody, I apologise for butting in on what you're listening to, but I wanted to introduce you guys to a brand new podcast called the Tiger Nexus Podcast. I'm Tiger, and I'm the host. I'm mostly known for the Tiger Tales YouTube channels where you'll find stories and fan fictions that I write and read to you guys. I'm also a co-founder of the Three Range Bro Studios, but I wanted to dive into this whole podcasting thing. I'm a content creator and I adore making content of all sorts of varieties, and I want to interview people that enjoy and make content as well. And we're talking about all sorts of things, from TikToks to YouTube to story writing to storytelling, podcasts, movies and TV shows, all forms of content you can think of. I want to interview people about. So there's going to be lots of different variety. So make sure you check out the Tiger Nexus Podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
So I've actually, you saying that, I've heard some horror stories when it comes to different artists. Sometimes I have a friend of mine who is creating a comic right now, and pretty much had to start over from scratch because of the something happened with the artist. I mean, and it's scary because you give people this side of what you've created, and you're hoping that it will be reciprocated and brought back to you with what you had in mind, and sometimes that doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, I think with independent comics, right, a lot of us, this is our passion or our thing that we fit in when we can. So a lot of people have full-time day jobs and families, so
yep,
it's tough. I mean, ghosting people's not nice or professional, but you know, unfortunately, like life stuff does, you know, and I've experienced it myself, can happen. But
Right.
and that's part of the reason why we wanted the entire issue done first, so that because I backed Kickstarters, right? That this looks great, and then you don't ever see it, right?
Yeah.
So part of the reason is we wanted to have this done and out, and you know, that kind of prevents any losses like that. But yeah, it's tough, man. I know what your buddy's going through. That's not fun.
Yeah. Speaking of Kickstarter, I actually was, since I told you guys that I'm working with original Geek Comics now. And so I just went through my first Kickstarter with the group and everything like that. And it kind of being beyond you advertising for it, you know, it's pretty much just like a waiting game, watching to see what's going to happen and stuff. And, you know, how was that for you guys? You know, how was your experience dealing with the Kickstarter on this project?
It's always a like I don't do them all the time, but I've done a couple before, and it's always a trial by fire for sure, right?
Yeah.
It's a marathon,
right?
But no, I'm glad we got through it. I don't, Flobo, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. I'll say that. This is just dating myself. I had never done Kickstarter before. I've done Indiegogo.
Okay.
And I got to see my failures in real time when, you know, when someone's like, oh, if you won $10 after fees. And so the first day, because we did a lot of pre-pledges, and that was a tactic and strategy that I wasn't used to. I was excited. I was like, oh man, next stop Vegas, baby. And then the adjustments came the next day, and people started bailing already. Like, oh man, this is the worst. I already popped the champagne. Do I still drink it? Do I put it back on the shelf? What do I do? But seeing the kind of groundswell after that, we all went our separate ways and appealed the book to different parts of our social network. That's something I learned, because before I used to be like, comic, please support. But I went to my racing friends and go, hey, look, I like racing now. Check this out. Or I went to my video game friends and say, hey, look, check this out. Seeing people actually put in was fun, and seeing how many friends are altruistic. There's so many times you go, no one will support my idea, but if you're passionate enough about it, you'll notice it's like a magnetism about it, and then we got to get across the finish line. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I to just jump on that, I would say community, right? The comics community, right? You hear the indie community a lot of times, and how supportive and tight knit everybody can be. And that was because I said it's probably been a minute since I've done my last Kickstarter, and just the support from other creators was like off the charts, and that like just it really feels good. And we had a couple creators that were, you know, a little bit I would say I'm saying on another level. That shouted out the campaign, and I was just like, wow, you know, it's just like they didn't have to do that.
Right.
They didn't have to make time to do that. So that kind of stuff, you know, it really makes you feel good. And just even when things can be frustrating, that kind of support is just that you can't beat that.
Right. And that's one thing, like you said, when it comes to like the comic book community and stuff like that. I love how tight knit that people can be here and supportive when it comes to that, you know. And I'm fairly new to the comic community. I've always been a kind of a not really a closet comic book fan, but I didn't really have friends to talk to about it until recent years, after starting to do this show, in fact. And so finding that group of people, it's almost there's a camaraderie amongst, you know, comic book people, and it's nice to have that, and to where they will support, you know, when you have projects like that, because they understand that passion that you have for what you're trying to create.
Yeah, 100%. And just also like sharing tips on, you know, on your campaign, getting the word out. I mean, some of my biggest comic friends that are just now my friends are people that I've met in the Kickstarter comics community.
Okay.
Right? You know, you meet, you like meeting Flobo at WonderCon, right? So a lot of like we're Los Angeles based, for anybody for listen, but so we'll do conventions, you know, in Los Angeles area, and then you're like, oh, I recognize that Kickstarter, and then you go have dinner with somebody, you know, after the show, and then you become friends, and And
Yeah.
it's just, you get to see and support each other and help get the word out. And, oh, I use this printer, I use this, colorist. I use the, all this stuff. It's just everybody sharing and helping and supporting. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. And also being able to, the one thing that has probably been the most fun for me to see is collaborations and stuff when it comes to, our next comic that's coming out. We have 3 different covers that are coming out for it, and it's from different artists, within Original Geek, and I love seeing somebody else's take on something that's already been done, and seeing what their mind saw it as. It's really cool because it can be, art is interpretive. You can interpret it a different way than somebody else might see it. And I just love that. It brings out the creative side. I've been so inspired since being a part of the comic book community to do other things.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah. So you guys are both extremely busy guys. I can tell that. I follow both of you on Instagram, and I know some of the things that you guys do and everything. And how do you find the time to do this?
Yeah, Andrew, how?
So, Jared, how old is your kid?
I have a 14-year-old and about to be 13-year-old.
Okay, so they're kind of at the like we're too cool for you stage, right? Or are they still making time for you?
Well, they still kind of make time for me, not as much as they used to. They think it's cool that I do a podcast still a little bit. So, I've got them to come on the show. So, I'm at that point. I'm not completely uncool yet.
Okay, so they're still taking up time. Yeah, so this was my first, my last campaign I did right as my now toddler was like 6 months or so. So I'm definitely finding out how to do dad duty work and comics. It's been figuring that out. And we just transferred him from a crib to a bed, as I'm sure you've explored.
Oh yeah,
and all of its glories. But so I really haven't slept in a month. So that it's like, oh, he's taking a bath. My wife's giving him a bath. I'm gonna write for 10 minutes. It's like, it's kind of I'm figuring out. But we got a Kickstarter or comic written, made, but that's also why I got awesome team members with me that everybody pulls their weight and does above and beyond. So that if it was just me, it would never happen.
I do get it though. I mean, as you know, I didn't start this episode until 7:00 tonight. That's dinner's done. The kids have done their homework, and now the wife is watching her show, and now I have time to do this out here. So I totally understand that, trying to fit in where it's best for you to do that with being a dad. So yeah,
I don't even. And then Flobo does like 50 things at once. The guy's traveling all the time. So I don't know. He's how does he get it done? That's what.
Well, I don't have any kids, man. That's I'm playing on easy mode. I mean, you guys are the real champs.
Well, I mean, you're a comedian. I think I saw on your page, you do some streaming stuff. You do all kinds of different things, don't you?
Yeah, I don't have a 9 to 5, so I need 20 jobs to make ends meet. So that's pretty much what it is. But that gives me some luxuries. Like I get to dedicate time to work out, for example. I can take a nap in the afternoon, which is always something
nice.
But at the same time, my day is essentially 6 a.m. to about 11 p.m. working. And so my social life is pretty much a zero. But what I tell people about juggling or spinning plates is that you don't have to spin all the plates at once at all times. So there's days, and Andrew will know, where you'll send me an email, hey guys, cut, did a pass the draft, let me know. And like a day and a half will go by. He's like, Lobo, are you alive? Oh yeah, I'll get to that. Because over the last year, during when this comic was built, I was up north doing Air Force stuff, and I was traveling for baseball stuff. So I was in between time zones like all the time. But then when I'm here and I'm a bump on the log and I'm not doing much, then I'll try to write some ideas. Like, for example, we have an indefinite plan next month or the month after to work about issue 2, crossing fingers. Those ideas are flowing in me now. write them down now. So when that meeting happens, I can go, here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You know?
My favorite one was when I was like, Flobo, it's been a couple days. You see the last draft? And he's like, sorry, I'm in Dubai. And I was like, oh, of course. Okay. All right.
That was covering baseball. You got to believe me. Baseball in Dubai. I'm not making it up.
Oh, so you actually cover sports then too?
Yeah, it's interesting. I came from a pro wrestling background, which is a sport.
Oh,
it's kind of
yes.
yeah. I was okay. So backing up, when I got into like broadcasting, because I have a broadcasting background, I kind of leaned into wrestling. Because I felt like the cool thing about what I was doing is I was playing it straight, knowing full well wrestling is scripted.
Yes.
And so that got me on a nice run. I worked with Spotify on one of their podcasts for about 12, 15 months, and the show got canceled. And having a show getting canceled is no big deal, but they made a big mistake there, and they paid me out my contract in one lump sum. And so I went on the biggest travel bender ever. I went to see so many different places and cities, and around WrestleMania season, for those who don't listen, WrestleMania is like pretty much the high season, right? For WWE.
Yeah.
It's April, which is also the beginning of baseball season. So I would go to these places. I was wearing my Mets gear. People were like, are you a Mets fan? I'll go, yeah. And then one thing led to another. I was doing content, which led to writing, blogging. And so I kind of leaned into, over the past 2 years, into actual sports journalism in combat sports, in baseball, and a little bit of soccer. So yeah, it's kind of like another thing, another plate to spin.
Okay. Funny that you say that about wrestling. For a long time, 80% of this show was me interviewing wrestlers, independent wrestlers.
Hell yeah!
So I've had quite a few from the Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, Arkansas, Kansas area. So yeah, I know a lot about that.
I tell people wrestling is Shakespeare's version of theater and around for a modern era. It is high art, my friend.
Yes. I definitely agree.
I'm glad we're okay. Because I was waiting. Are we going to have a wrestling talk part? So I'm glad we're jumping into it, because I grew up loving wrestling, and then had a big blank spot. But I always had buddies that were huge wrestling fans, and so I was always like a wrestling fan by proxy. I would always go see whatever pay-per-view or whatever. I would go and I get all caught up. But now that I got a toddler, I'm like, I need to. This is my way in. Yeah. So I can't tell my wife I have a reason to watch 3 hours or 4 hours of wrestling every week.
Right.
But I took my kid to he was 2.5 to a wrestling event, and he lasted four matches of the 12th.
Okay.
So that was good.
Nice.
Did a little GCW recently, and then did the AAA in Tijuana, which was awesome. So I've been trying to like pack it in and make up for lost time.
Yeah. I like to. We've got some local companies that I take my kids to, and I actually did a show for one of them. It was like a hype show that we would do on Tuesdays to talk about the next event that was coming up, because we were doing like a bi-weekly show. Like it was great because I didn't know anything about independent wrestling. And then my son's stepdad was like, hey, there's a local show. Would you like to take the boy and let's all go and have a good time? And I said, heck yeah, let's do that. And so I was opened up to this whole new world of wrestling. And so now I found out there's 2 of them 10 minutes from my house that happened.
Oh, awesome.
And so I've got plenty of that to go watch now, and I get to take my kids whenever they want to go. They don't find it as cool as they did, but you know, if I'm doing something with it, they're like, okay, yeah, I'll go with you. So nice. I've got to do some stuff with Sam Stackhouse even.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's a really cool dude. I've had him. I've got some pictures out there, I think, where I was doing some stuff, and I got to meet Fuego del Sol because he does a lot of stuff with Sam Stackhouse too. And I'm still trying to get him on the show. Haven't quite got him yet, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. I cross fingers, man. Because Fuego, I heard, is a cool guy too.
He is. So I did PTX Con, and I got to meet him there because they had a wrestling show at the con. So they were there, both of them, and they had some other ones. So yeah, he was a really nice guy. I look forward to getting him on the show.
Very cool.
So I wanted to have, you can pick whoever you want to do this, but I wanted to give you guys a moment and just in your own words, try to sell. What would you say to somebody whenever you were telling them about this comic and you were trying to get them to want to read this comic?
You want me to take a crack at it?
Hell yeah.
Okay, okay. I would say, if anything, if you're a fan of underdog stories, I think that's a big start. And it's just if you're a fan of giant robots, right? Mechs, Transformers, racing around. We got a whole bunch of action. They're whipping around like Spider-Man. But it's revenge, underdog stories, Speed Racer meets Gundam. Sci-fi action, world building. You're not going to go wrong.
That's way better. I was like, please, just read it, please. Oh God, please. I tried really hard. No,
I did my best.
I did my best. Isn't that worth enough? No, that's pretty much what it is. I would always say, hey, look, if you're like me and you're a fan of action, you're a fan of being someone that told that you could not do anything and you can go anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe for a chance for glory, would you take that opportunity? And if you say yes, every single person, creature, entity is in this tournament. Maxwell won, and you are too if you pick up a copy of First Place Losers. But I like Andrew's way better because he tells us what's actually in the book. I'm just like saying, yeah, man, it's a feeling, bro.
So I just have a couple more questions for you guys before I get you off of here. Do you have any goals set for this next year beyond this book coming out?
So just like in writing comics in general type thing?
Sure.
Or?
Yeah.
I have a couple projects that are going to be coming out this year. A Kaiju Nature magazine, which I'm pretty excited about.
Okay.
And that's pretty much all the way done. And then we're going to do a hardcover collection of another series I've done called Rum Row. We finally had the 4th issue come out, so we're going to do a hardcover collection. But that's kind of like the immediate future. But then we're always writing and trying to think of the next project to work on, in addition to hopefully more First Place Losers if we can swing it.
Absolutely.
Flobo, what do you got?
As far as what we're working on is definitely the second issue of First Place Losers, whether or not you buy the first one or not, fans. We're going to keep making them, I swear. But definitely, I'm actually in talks with Ultima Comics to see if you can revive one of my older properties, Silver Streak, along with an original one as well. I think the bug of writing comics has kind of been reignited with this one. So thank you so much for that, Andrew. Appreciate that, because I was ready to forget about that and throw it all away after my my graphic novel. And I want to be able to pursue stuff on stage as well, whether it's broadcasting or comedy. So keep the world moving,
Awesome. And if people want to follow you guys, how can they do that?
I'm Grenade Fight on Instagram, and Damn It Maxwell on I hate calling it X. I'm still calling it Twitter.
It's Twitter, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's probably the best way to catch stuff. But the newsletter, if you go to grenadefight.net, that's our newsletter. That's where we whenever we have a new project coming out, we put stuff out on there. So that's probably the best bet.
All right.
Social media as it is.
I'm at Flobo Boyce on X/Twitter, as well as Blue Sky, which is supposed to be the anti-Twitter. If you want to hear more or read more about what I do as far as sports blogging with a comedy twist, I have a side project. I consider it open beta at justthesandwich.com. I usually do all my little onion news like things for sports over there. And then I can say, luckily in my career, thankfully in my career, you could just Google Flobo Boyce and my entire thing comes up. Took me 15 years to do it. I'm proud of it. Take that, Flowbots. I made it. Learn more about me that way as well.
All right. And do you guys have any final thoughts for me before I get you off of here?
No, I think that's I would just say check out our team. Andre Lukin, our designer, designed an insane amount of world building for this. And if you just want to feel like you're in another place, check out his work. He just killed it on this book. Can't say enough about him. Max Davenport, Rob Jones, our letterer. Just check those guys out too.
Okay.
Also, winning is overrated. Become a first place loser.
There you go.
There
that
you
should
go.
be our tagline.
I like it. All right, guys. I will talk to you a few more minutes after I end this recording. But we're going to say bye here for now. Thank you again for being on the show, and I can't wait to see this comic come out.
Thanks so much for having us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Hello there. While I have your attention, let me introduce myself. My name is Colby Cheese. I'm a content creator at TikTok with over 1.6 million followers, husband, comic book collector, and avid wrestling fan. And if you are listening to this, that means you must be a wrestling fan too. We will be discussing all of the wrestling from Monday Night Raw to Friday Night SmackDown, those AEW Wednesdays to those PLEs on the weekends that we have to wake up at 11 a.m. for. And that's only at Wrestling with Colby Cheese.
Hey, listeners, have you ever been like locked out of your house and can't get in your car? You left your keys in your car and you don't know who to call? Just give a call to Gosei's Key Cloners.
Gosei Clean Cloners really helped me out of a real quick bind with my keys locked in my car.
Gosei Clean Cloners saved my marriage. Without them, I would be out on the streets.
God damn it. I did not expect it. Okay. Well, we were talking about unlocking things. I didn't think it was going to. Now, remember, guys, if, like, you are locked out of anywhere that needs a specialized key, like any kind of house or car or command center keys, if your morpher needs a key, then I always look up Gosei's Key Cloners. You can reach them at 555-III-1982.
Hello, person listening to this ad break. If you like the silky sound of my voice, and you want to know more about the things I know about, head on over to the Zero to Hero podcast. We can listen to my brother and myself wobble and bicker about little things and nuances of nerd culture. Like, is Rocky really the true hero of the Power Rangers universe? Is Jason the best Red Ranger? Or is Gundam Wing the best Gundam series? Come on over and enjoy yourself and be angry when you leave.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Flobo and with Andrew. I really enjoyed reading that comic, and I can't wait to see more of them. If you want your own copy of it, make sure that you go out there and order yours as well. I will have a link to that in my show notes to where you can find their stuff. So next week's episode, you're going to have to wait until I drop it on Facebook, the announcement to let you know who it is. If all goes according to plan, it's going to be a really, really cool episode. It'll be one that you guys will really be excited to hear, especially my comic book people. So make sure that you are watching on social media to see who that next episode will be with. Hope it happens. I hope everything works out. From what I hear so far, he's excited to be on the show, so it should be fine. But I know that things have happened in the past to where, I have an episode planned and something happens. So just be looking on social media to see if that one does take place. If not, I'm sure I will have another great episode lined up for you to hear as well. But in the meantime, make sure that you check out my podcast networks that I am a part of, the OIW Podcast Network and the Zero to Hero Podcast Network. If you need something to listen to and you want something entertaining and you want something different, check out these two podcast networks that I'm a part of. Whether you want something that has to do with wrestling or comic books or Power Rangers or nostalgia of some kind, check out these networks. They have great shows on both of them that I'm sure that you guys will love to listen to while you're waiting on the next one of this show to drop. Also, make sure that you go out there and get your t-shirt, get your hoodie, get your merch when it comes to If You Give a Dad a Podcast. I have the link to that in my show notes. I'd love to see you guys sporting those around. When you do buy those, make sure that you take a picture and tag me in it on social media. That way I can see it and I can share it around as well. But yeah, I have that merch site up now, so make sure that you can go out there and get your stuff there today. So at the end of every episode, you hear a song by D-Cure. He is the man who created my ending theme song for me. And if you like the way that sounds, make sure that you go out there and you follow him as well, because he has all kinds of great stuff that he's doing. He has some really cool music that he's coming out with, and he makes some really funny stuff on TikTok. So make sure that you go follow him on TikTok and Instagram and all those places. I have some stuff that is coming up with Original Geek here soon, so make sure that you're able to try to come out to these things. The next one that they have is September 21st and 22nd, and that is SpaCon in Hot Springs, Arkansas. So if you're in the area and you would like an autograph, or you'd like to get some of these comics that I've been talking about, make sure that you go out there and you see them at SpaCon. Like I said, that's the 21st and 22nd of this month, September. So yeah, go out there and follow them. They've got some really cool new prints out there too that you can get. You've seen me post some of them, and they've got all kinds of great stuff. So make sure that you go out there, get some of their really cool stuff. The next event that I will be at is in October, and that is at HallowsCon in McAlester, Oklahoma. I know I have a lot of people in the Oklahoma area who listen to this podcast, so if any of you guys are able to make it out, I would love to see you. There's going to be all kinds of really cool guests there. There's going to be a wrestling show that happens, I believe, on Saturday night is when that one is. So make sure that you can come out and you can see me, say hello, maybe get an autograph, maybe get a shirt, something. If you just want to tell me a dad joke, I would love to see you guys come by my booth and maybe stick around for the show. Maybe we can do a TikTok video together with dad jokes. You know how much I love those. So yeah, that is my next event that is coming up. We got some other ones that are coming up a little later, and once it gets a little closer to those, then I will be announcing them as well. Also, make sure that you go out there and check out my brother podcasts. That is, If You Give a Dad a YouTube channel, and If You Give a Dad a Cosplay. If you're looking to make your own YouTube channel, or if you're looking to get into cosplay, these are the two places that you want to go to find the advice that you need to make sure that you can run your stuff smoothly, or you can come up with a design when it comes to cosplay. Both of these guys are very knowledgeable when it comes to these different things that they are talking about on YouTube. So make sure that you go out there and follow them. I will have them in my show notes. If you want to follow me on social media, you heard me talking earlier about I'll drop my next announcement for an episode on social media. So you're probably like, well, how do I follow you, Jared? Well, I've made it pretty simple. All you got to do is go to my show notes on this episode, go to the very bottom, and you'll see my link tree. On my link tree, I have all of the icons at the top there, and those are all the places that you can follow me on social media. Make sure that you do that and follow me on all of those. That way you can keep up with everything that is going on. I also have an email address that you guys can send me stuff to. If you want to send me a dad joke, if you want to send me a request for a guest, or if you just want to talk to me about something, I am there. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. But that email address is giveadadapodcast@gmail.com. I definitely look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. That is also on my link tree. It should be the little envelope at the top of the link tree, and you can send me an email that way as well. So all the people who are listening right now, if you could do me a huge favor, go out there and rate and review this podcast. Tell me what you think of it. The more people that do that, the more likely I am to be recommended to more people. And I would love to see this show grow, and I appreciate all of those who have already reviewed this show. And yeah, just recommend me to some people. You know, if you like the way this sounds, make sure that you let everybody know. That way they'll come and listen as well. Also, for those who are just started listening to the show, make sure that you like and subscribe to this podcast. Hit the notification bell wherever it is you're listening. That way you're notified when a new episode of this show drops. If you like the way it sounds, maybe share it with your friends. Like I said, review it, share it, like it, subscribe to it. If you could do these things, that just helps me to grow this show. And like I said, I would love to see this show grow more and more. So it is the end of another episode of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. And it is time for Billy's favorite part of the show. And that is Dad Joke of the Week.
Seriously?
What do you call a song about a tortilla? A rap.
So what do you think of that dad joke, Billy?
Well, They're pretty bad. I don't know where he gets these dad jokes from, but the government needs to disable that with saying, because sometimes they make my head hurt.
Did you stroke out?
Let me press my life alert button.
All right. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Room rounded, but I got a podcast on. He calls us beautiful people, then tells us who we have on. The best part of my day, though we're blocked out in my pods. Tell my friends all about it so that they follow along. And the host is kinda nerdy, but guess what, I am as well. I don't feel so alone, and I began walking out of my shell. Heard a story, I need a connection I haven't felt. I'll be looking for the next one, till then farewell. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. Listen closely, download and tune in remotely. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. And listen closely, download and tune in remotely.
This podcast is part of the OIW Podcasting Network.
Wait.
Can you put a timer up here?